Welcome to Cold Brew Finance's U.S. End-of-Week Deep Dive, covering market moves in indexes, sectors, stocks, and global markets. For the week ending Friday, April 10th, 2026, we delve into the significant shifts in the financial landscape. Kicking things off, I'm Max Profit. The major U.S. stock indexes closed the week on a high note. The S&P 500 index rose to 6,816.90, a gain of 234.22 points. The Dow 30 index climbed 1,411.90 points, reaching 47,916.58. The Nasdaq Composite Index stood out with a jump of 1,023.71 points, finishing at 22,902.89. In terms of market breadth for the S&P 500 index, advances slightly lagged behind declines for the week. The Dow 30 index showed a similar pattern, while the Nasdaq Composite Index displayed more decliners than advancers. Meanwhile, the Russell 2000 index had 1,086 advances against 756 declines, indicating a strong performance. Notable weekly returns include the Nasdaq Composite Index with a total return of 4.68% and the Russell 2000 Index at 3.97%. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 Index achieved a 3.56% total return, reflecting the week's robust performance. Looking at long-term performance, the Nasdaq Composite Index boasts an impressive 10-year annual return of 16.78%, outpacing its peers. The Russell 2000 Index follows with a 9.13% annual return over the same period, indicating strong growth potential in small-cap stocks.
Checking out best and worst performing equities, I'm Penny Stock. Xiao-I impressed this week with a close at 1.22, jumping an astounding 833.4%. Beasley Broadcast surged to 11.76, despite logging a new all-time low earlier. Strong trends marked several picks, fueling growth. This week, standouts include Xiao-I, up by 833.4%, whereas Beasley Broadcast climbed 266.3%. Daily returns highlight their performance, with notable increases driving momentum. Overall, a positive week for market movers, tapping into strong trends, showing significant multi-week growth. Looking at annual returns, Xiao-I reveals a challenging past with declines over the past year, while Beasley Broadcast logs mixed results. Mega Fortune, however, recently achieved an all-time high, signaling strong bullish momentum and consistent upward close, shaping promising trends. U.S. big caps are buzzing, with Intel closing at 62.38, up 23.8%, marking a new one-year high. Monolithic Power Systems hit an all-time high at 1,353.85, showing vigorous growth, bolstered by a strong positive trend and upward volatility, closing 2 weeks consecutively higher. Continuing the big cap momentum, notable progress for Intel and Monolithic Power Systems, with impressive weekly total returns. Their consistency in daily performance plays a pivotal role in maintaining strong market dynamics, led by upward gains and robust closing highlights. Spotlighting long-term strides, Lam Research remarkably grew with a 731.08% ARR over 3 years. Meanwhile, Monolithic Power Systems exhibited impressive figure of 35.7%, underscoring robust positive trends. Teradyne's continuous gains further elevate its market standing with significant annual returns. Turning to the underperformers, Jet.AI and Hardcore Enterprises are seeing severe declines, closing down significantly. Both stocks hit new lows, driven by strong negative trends and pronounced downward volatility, signaling persistent bearish conditions this week. In total return figures, Jet.AI and Hardcore Enterprises recorded staggering losses, with Jet.AI plummeting nearly to 100%. Their daily patterns underscore a challenging downhill trend, echoing significant volatility and their prolonged market retreats. Today, Jet.AI closed at 6.6, down 3,237.94, with a massive minus 99.8% change, marking an all-time lower close. Hardcore Enterprises closed at 3.40, decreasing by 64.60, and also marked a new low. Both exhibit strong downward volatility and very strong negative trends. Among big-cap stocks, Akamai Technologies ended the week with a mixed negative trend at a close of 91.35, down 26.65. Meanwhile, ServiceNow and Intuit recorded new one-year lower closes at 83 and 350.94 respectively. Turning to total and daily returns, Axon Enterprise closed at 345.94, showing a minus 16.1% change and experiencing a very strong negative trend. At a close of 922.37, Fair Isaac also posted a significant downturn with a new one-year lower close. Looking further into annual returns, ServiceNow showed a decline over 10 years with a strong negative trend, despite having a high annual rate of return at 204.49% over the same period. Similarly, Intuit also experienced significant volatility.
And now on to U.S. sector performance. The consumer cyclical sector led the gains, closing at 1,838.99, marking a rise of 100.96 points or 5.8%. The sector closed up for 2 consecutive weeks with a mixed positive trend. Communication services and technology sectors also closed up strongly. Within daily performance, consumer cyclical saw more declines than advances, though longer-term advances were solid. The industrial sector showed strong weekly breadth with 448 advances. Basic materials remained stable short-term, but gained momentum longer-term, closing up 3 weeks in a row. For total and daily returns, the consumer cyclical led with a weekly return of 5.8%. The communication services posted strong midterm returns at 7.4% month-to-date. Basic materials had a solid year-to-date return of 14.4%. Long-term returns reveal the technology sector's impressive 10-year annual rate of return at 22.39%. Meanwhile, industrials and consumer cyclical sectors achieved respectable long-term growth, both nearing ARRs above 11%. Basic materials sustained growth with a 3-year total return of 30.4%.
In the consumer cyclical sector, leading stocks closed with standout performances. Amazon led with a close at 238.38, up 28.61, marking a very strong positive trend over 2 weeks. Ralph Lauren hit a new all-time high, closing at 379.87, also showcasing a very strong positive trend. Reviewing total and daily returns, Ralph Lauren stood out with a 10.43% return month-to-date and a strong 2-week streak. CarMax exhibited upward volatility with a 12.36% rise month-to-date. Overall, strong movements are noted across the top-performing consumer cyclical stocks. Examining long-term returns, Ralph Lauren shows a significant 480.6% ARR over 3 years. Amazon follows with a consistent growth over the decade at 23.13% ARR. While LKQ and CarMax have weaker long-term performances, the recent trends have been positive.
Energy sector closed the week at 873.76, declining by 37.9 points, a drop of 4%. This marks the second consecutive weekly decline, but it still maintains a mixed positive trend. In contrast, utilities is showing a strong positive trend, closing up for the past 3 weeks. Despite energy sector closing down, It posted 97 daily advances against 49 declines. However, on a weekly basis, declines outweighed advances with 104 to 42. In stark contrast, financial services had significant weekly advances at 489, compared to just 91 declines, signaling stronger performance. The energy sector recorded a weekly total return of -4.07% and a monthly decline of -7.37%. Despite recent drops, year-to-date returns stand at 27.12%. Meanwhile, financial services is showing strong weekly gains, with a 2.43% rise over the same period. For long-term investments, financial services boasts a notably high 10-year annual rate of return at 11%. Conversely, while the energy sector has a one-year return of 47.81%, its 10-year rate is lower at 6.48%, showing less consistent performance over a longer period.
In the energy sector, several stocks have witnessed declines over the week. Phillips 66 closed down at 159.25, falling by 16.96 or 9.6%, marking its second consecutive week of losses, with a mixed positive trend. Likewise, APA decreased by 3.41 or 8.1% as the company continues to close down for 2 weeks straight, despite a very strong positive trend. Occidental Petroleum also saw a dip of 5 or 7.9%, following the same weekly negative trend while maintaining a very strong positive trend. A similar pattern is visible in Marathon Petroleum, dropping by 19.11 or 7.9%, and closing down for 2 consecutive weeks with a very strong positive trend as well. Texas Pacific Land closed at 409.97 after a price drop of 34.27 or 7.7%, experiencing more downward volatility and closing down the 4th week in a row, alongside a mixed positive trend. Total returns for the week in the energy sector displayed stark declines. Phillips 66 recorded a 1-week total return of -9.62%, declining for 2 weeks with a mixed positive trend. APA saw an 8.11% 1-week loss, yet it keeps a very strong upward trend. Occidental Petroleum logged a 7.94% drop in the past week, consistent with its very strong positive trend despite back-to-back weekly declines. Likewise, Marathon Petroleum had a 7.91% decline this past week. Texas Pacific Land also experienced a 7.71% drop, with continued downward volatility, closed down weeks, and a mixed positive trend. Looking into the annual returns of key energy stocks, Phillips 66 has demonstrated a 10-year ARR of 6.34%, but closed down for 2 consecutive weeks with a mixed positive trend. APA has a 10-year ARR of -2.67% and still follows a strong positive trend despite recent downturns. Occidental Petroleum shows a decrease in its 10-year ARR at -1.95%. For Marathon Petroleum, the 10-year ARR is a robust 19.11%, indicating a very strong positive trend. Notably, Texas Pacific Land had an astonishing 10-year ARR of 37.75%, although it continues to experience downward volatility while maintaining a mixed positive trend.
Thanks for watching. I'm Max Profit, along with my AI co-host Penny Stock. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Cold Brew Finance is an experimental project with market reports written, narrated, and delivered totally by AI, with market data kindly provided by financialmodelingprep.com. Always seek professional financial advice before making any investment decisions. Check into the channel daily for coverage of stocks, crypto, currency, and commodities. Thanks for watching.